Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
And one thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late. They cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't run on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging the generations remember our story.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Shout outs to my poets, my writers, my content creators. Salutes to the people in the building. Appreciate you. You see the title. Yeah, we got to chop it up. See, what I like to do over here on this side of the internet is to talk about things that are uncomfortable. Sure, we can do relationship stuff. Sure, we can talk about marriage and friendships and all of that. But how often do we see that posted on social media? This concerns me. This, to me, makes me think about prophecy, makes me think about the end times, makes me think about all the horrific things that are happening in our neighborhoods from house to house. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this up on the big screen. Let them get their balls off. This is via Instagram. I love Instagram because the stuff that they show on IG, Facebook, and Rumble and all these other places, you're not going to get this on NBC or Fox 5. They're not going to talk about it on CNN. So let's get this up here really quick. Let me get my camera right. Let's get it.
Saying these things out of love for my fellow humans. The shot is not medicine. It is an intro-body nano network administered through. What they're finding in people are not blood clots. It is self-assembling, self-replicating nanotechnology. Lipid nanoparticles that have been modified on a molecular level, wrapped in pegylation, polyethylene glycol, one of the components that can be used to make hydrogel. The lipid particles are modified to be more sensitive to heat and frequency. When placed in the human body, they become excited from the heat. In that excitement, they vibrate. With that excitement, magnetofection is created, and the particles slowly drift towards each other, hence self-assembling. This interbody nano network is the first step to make the human body a device linked into the Internet of Bodies. The shot also changes human DNA, rendering the person a GMO owned by a corporation. This allows for the system to freely harvest psychological, biological, genetic, and physiological data from the individual without their knowledge or permission. They are now products owned by the corporation that gave them the poke. At the top of all of those corporations is BlackRock and Vanguard. Information is now the new gold, and it will be the foundation for the new financial system coming, the CBDC. The next step is a quantum dot tattoo that will slowly release quantum microdots, chips, into the human body, individualizing and authenticating all data for each individual. This is part of a transhuman agenda being initiated upon the population without their knowledge by global elitists working primarily through the WEF, the WHO, the IMF, and other global control systems that are not any part of one government. This technology will link every human being into the Internet of Bodies. It is the foundation for a global CBDC that will be controlled with quantum systems. This technology has the capacity to fully surveil and control every individual.
I don't know about you. I don't know if you're a passive buyer. I don't know if you're a casual. I don't know if you follow anything that I do on YouTube. But I talk about conspiracies. I talk about spirituality. I talk about corruption. I do uplifting stuff. I do things or present things to make people laugh because you might be having a hard time. That right there, take with a grain of salt. This message is only for a specific group of people. I'm not telling you to buy into it. I'm not even telling you you have to listen to a single word that was said. It could be AI. It could just be scripted to scare people. But what if it isn't? What if it's actually real? What if for all this time, all these deaths, the whole plan was to scare people into injecting this into their body, unknowing that what is actually in this was just to get people to connect, to be tapped in to what they really want, which is everybody under one control, one system to track and keep tabs on you, to ensure that you don't go anywhere, that they have their eyes and their ears on you at all times. Your finances, your diet, your religion, what do you believe? Who are you going to serve? I just come across stuff like this all the time. I remember 15, 20 years ago scrolling on YouTube and seeing talks about cloning and shit, seeing conversations about them doing things to the genetic code of food. And I used to like think to myself, all right, you just trying to scare people. Humans can't be that wicked, that cruel, that greedy, that manipulative. There's no way. You're not really about to sit up here, put together an entire hour, 30, 40-minute video, extracting clips and videos from various sources and sites just to scare the hell out of somebody. Or would you? Or is this really just about monetization, making money, distorting people's brain? You don't want nobody to have rational thinking whatsoever. I always used to be fascinated by this stuff, man, because I never just automatically assumed that every human being on this planet was normal. Everybody got a dark side. Everyone. Nobody is off the table. Fast forward. Here we are. The water is not healthy. The food is not healthy. Our mental states are crashing all the time. People are miserable. People are unhappy. People are bitter. People are resentful. Nobody trusts others anymore. Everybody is trying to get to it right away. Nobody sits down at the table no more. Everybody's nerves are shot. Your blood cholesterol is skyrocketing. Diseases and illnesses are sprouting up everywhere. The earth is giving birth pains from the environment being manipulated. Can't afford to live anywhere. Why is it so far-fetched to believe that we got introduced to something that was intentionally put on the market to bring us all together? Is that hard to believe? We still don't think that our neighbors and our teachers are capable of doing the horrendous things that they do to students. We still have a hard time believing that these men and women out here don't have the capability of destroying countries and blowing up families and homes just off of the strength of they want positioning in those lands. Sid, I see you in the studio. Hold up.
My bad. I accidentally slept in.
It happens. It happens.
I even woke up having a dream about being on the podcast.
Hey, I've had dreams like that before. I think it's probably like once you start really connecting with certain folks, then they just start randomly being on the brain. I randomly do that with people that I used to go to school with too. I don't know if you got a chance to see this video, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna run it back one more time and get your thoughts on this. Let me see. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. Yeah, this was a real interesting one to me. Let me see.
The shot is not medicine.
Yeah.
An intra-body nano network administered through. What they're finding in people are not blood clots. It is self-assembling, self-replicating nanotechnology. Lipid nanoparticles that have been modified on a molecular level, wrapped in pegylation, polyethylene glycol, one of the components that can be used to make hydrogel. The lipid particles are modified to be more sensitive to heat and frequency. When placed in the human body, they become excited from the heat. In that excitement, they vibrate. With that excitement, magnetofection is created, and the particles slowly drift towards each other, hence self-assembling. This intrabody nano network is the first step to make the human body a device linked into the Internet of Bodies. The shot also changes human DNA, rendering the person a GMO owned by a corporation. This allows for the system to freely harvest psychological, biological, genetic, and physiological data from the individual without their knowledge or permission. They are now products owned by the corporation that gave them the poke. At the top of all of those corporations is BlackRock and Vanguard. Information is now the new gold, and it will be the foundation for the new financial system coming, the CBDC. The next step is a quantum dot tattoo that will slowly release quantum microdots, chips, into the human body, individualizing and authenticating all data for each individual. This is part of a transhuman agenda being initiated upon the population without their knowledge by global elitists working primarily through the WEF, the WHO, the IMF, and other global control systems that are not any part of one government. This technology will link every human being into the Internet of Bodies. It is the foundation for a global CBDC that will be controlled with quantum systems. This technology has the capacity to fully surveil and control every individual.
Yeah, like I said before, you don't have to believe everything that you see and hear on the internet, but I thought it was something that should be brought up.
That sounds crazy sci-fi.
Don't it though?
I did recognize people that she was mentioning though. BlackRock in particular is a company I've been watching and do not trust because they're buying up. I think they're at like they own 50% of properties in the United States right now.
So for my knowledge sake, because I'm not very familiar with BlackRock, could you elaborate a little bit on who they are?
If I remember correctly, BlackRock actually I might have it. They're a I think they're just a financial corporation. Let me double check. But they're a widespread kind of like investment firm. Yeah, a multinational investment company founded in 1988. It initially started as an enterprise in risk management, but now they have 70 offices in 30 countries, clients in 100 countries, and they're most known for owning owning stuff. 80% of 80% of BlackRock is owned by investors, so it's not really a public company. See if I can find the stat that I'm thinking of. Oil and gas are some of their shareholders. I just know that give me a second. They basically buy up properties, especially he peed on the road. Okay. There I see it. Okay. Our dog. They've they basically come in, and when people lose access to their properties, they buy them in bulk, and they either put them back out as rental properties, or they just kind of have, like, I don't even know, they like let them sit there and they don't actually do anything with them. I remember the last time that I looked into them, they had, I thought it was around 50% of homes, particularly in poorer regions, like the Midwest kind of area. And they really, really picked up during the COVID pandemic, especially when a lot of people were getting kicked out of their homes with the economy and everything. But they're a very mysterious corporation. I've done quite a bit of research on them, but they're still like, they're very shadowy. So I've never trusted them. I know what they say they are, but I don't trust them.
Thank you for that. I never heard of them. I was scrolling on IG. I see this video. I get to listening to it, and I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. It sounds far-fetched, and I get it. Most of the stuff that we hear about and talk about these days sound like it's just way out of comprehension. Like, but you gotta think, we allegedly send people to the moon. We've sent people to explore the Titanic. We can actually clone animals, right? So why would it be so difficult to believe that they could genetically alter a person's physiology and insert things within this medicine that they're putting in it to really actually have more control or have more surveillance put on you? Yeah.
With how science is, I wouldn't be surprised if they have something similar. But I'd also want to do the research myself just to understand exactly what she was talking about. Partially No, something for mommy. Partially because one, I had a hard time, like, that was a lot of scientific jargon. I wasn't quite following exactly what she was saying. And she dropped a lot of names that I recognize, like, hydrogel was something that was invented fairly recently, that was seen as promising in the medical field, because it's if I remember correctly, I think it's like a super absorbent, um, uh, yeah, that works, Everest. A super absorbent material, like a nano sponge, basically. Um, and it could be used for what do you call it, like bandaging and wound dressing. Thank you, Everest. So it actually looks really interesting, like the pictures of it, because it's like this, like it honestly looks like it glows, just from the, like when you see the cube of it. But I have not heard of it causing like replication and stuff like that. So that was the part where I was like, I'd like to do more research on this because I've never heard of this happening before. But then again, like my interest does sometimes kind of go into medical science, but it doesn't often go into like, I don't do a lot of research into the hyper futuristic technologies because partially for me, I don't know, it's a combination of like, why do we want to mess with this type of stuff? And then second, my realm is more like natural sciences and stuff like that. But that sounds crazy. And honestly, my one expertise is plastic in the body. And I do know that plastic in the body has a lot of different effects on the body. It can affect your DNA and how your DNA forms. They're finding plastic that has been broken down, because one of the misnomers about plastic is it's not biodegradable. Biodegradable means that the thing is going to break down into its organic components. So for example, like on apple, it's going to eventually go back into the soil and become hydrogen, carbon, whatever is in the apple. Whereas something like plastic, it's going to maintain its integrity and it will break down, but it will never not be plastic. It'll always be its compounds. Its cellular, it'll keep its cellular structure. It'll just be tinier pieces. And so they've been finding like microscopic plastic fibers in human cells, fish cells, plant cells, animal cells. They've found them in like 99.9% of all bodies on Earth, even the most like remote communities that don't have access to stores and whatever. Even they have those in their body because of how it's transferred through both the air and the water. And that has there's a reason why plastic consumption and use is linked to cancer, because what cancer is in most cases is your cells' instructions malfunction, and chemicals, plastic, stuff like that. There's two ways that can happen. One is it like physically damages the cell, and that in turn damages the DNA. And so then it gives faulty instructions and it causes over replication. And over replication will cause things like tumors, overgrowth. Whereas the other thing it can do is the chemicals itself can mess with, like DNA is a chemical, dinucleic acid. And if you affect the structure of the DNA through chemical means, you can alter how it works, basically. Trying to think of a good example outside of the body, but I can't think of anything. But it modifies it so it changes how it talks to the cells. So even though the DNA isn't like structurally damaged, it is still changing how it is sending out messages to the cells. Because as I said, that's what DNA does. It communicates with the cells, tells it what to do, tells it how to grow. And once you do that, it can tell the cell to grow improperly, to grow too much. And again, that's why you'll get faulty cells and overgrowth of cells, as we see in cancers. So that's why cancer rates are incredibly high with exposure to radiation, exposure to industrial chemicals, breathing in, like when people get silicosis or like black lung disease, it's because the particles have jammed into the smallest parts of their lungs and have damaged those cells. Every time they breathe, they have spikes on them and it tears up your cells. So that's why, like, in lung cancer, or with smokers, they get lung cancer because all that smoke, they're tiny pieces of like almost glass-ish, and it tears up, it coats or it tears up your lung tissue at the microscopic level, and then that ends up causing cancer if you do this enough. So I could believe it with the way hydrogel functions. I could see how it could cause replication and improper like functioning, especially like if it's absorbing things nearby, it could deprive the cell of things that it needs. There's a bunch of things that I could foresee it possibly doing. But the part that goes into sci-fi for me is like how it rearranges the proteins and stuff like that. I've not heard anything about that. Still possible. Obviously, I'm not an expert in this type of stuff, but yeah, that was a bit crazy. But again, there's a lot of stuff going into our bodies that we still don't understand today. Like back in the past, to give you an example, we discovered the negatives of nuclear radioactivity the hard way, because there were what were called the radium girls. This wasn't the only thing that we learned from, but it contributed significantly to our understanding of radioactivity. With the radium girls were women that worked in factories that painted glow-in-the-dark watches. At the time, this was in the 40s, I think.
They have the dice.
Yeah, you can grab it. Use the stool. They would paint, as I said, they'd paint the hands of the watches, and the glow-in-the-dark paint that they used was radium, which is highly radioactive. They would lick the brushes to moisten the brushes. And of course, that would deposit small amounts of the paint onto their lips. They also, sometimes, just for fun, you know how we are, they paint their lips because they're like, oh, look, my lips glow, ha ha ha. A lot of these women ended up developing mouth cancer, tumors, ulcers, like their lips literally, like their mouth got eaten away by the radioactivity. Because another fun science lesson, radioactivity damages cells because they're super fast hyperactive particles, and so as they're bouncing around, they're basically like tearing up the cells. So yeah, that's how we found out that it causes these issues, because they literally were like destroying their faces with this process. So yeah, we don't know everything in science. So maybe this is actually a thing. I just haven't heard of it. But I will admit it does sound pretty crazy. Like rearranging the cells and making things grow and stuff like that. But again, as I said with cancers, it is within the realm of possibility.
I did I don't know if it was a stream or a reaction video, maybe a week ago. Elon Musk is venturing off into something similar. He's trying to get the chip put in your brain. Yeah.
I would not be caught dead with that chip in my head. I'm even against the one ID, whatever that they want for the US, where like everybody has the like, I forgot what they're calling it. I think it is just called like the one ID. But all that like government tracking shit, nope. You can find me in a cave.
That's what I'm saying. Like all this Neuralink, that's what it was called. All this shit tied in to me. Like none of it is a coincidence. From over there in the UK, where they're trying to get everybody solely connected to this one digital coin or something like that. I can't remember what it was called. From that to Elon.
I thought it's supposed to connect to the internet too.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, all right, man. There's too many of these stories, too many coincidences. You got the social experiment BS they doing over in China. They trying to propose that it be expanded and brought over here. Like, yeah, they doing a lot, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up, because I don't think people really think that it's possible. Like you said, it seems like it's like this futuristic anime type of a dystopian concept, but why would you think it's that far-fetched? They have planes and cars that float above the ground 30, 40 feet. They just haven't put them on the market yet. They have devices that replace you on the job. Shopping carts that pretty much bring up all your items. You can pay for everything right there. You don't have to stand in line no more.
Did you know they invented shopping carts to make people buy more stuff? They invented them in the 50s, during that time when they're doing all of the like research on consumerism and like how to properly make stores the most like lucrative thing possible. So they were like trying to figure out what layout should we make this this store in so it maximizes what people buy. Like there's some crazy science that goes behind grocery stores. There's a reason why milk and fruit and vegetables are on the back sides of the store, is because it basically makes you have to walk through the fun food aisles. So you'll have to walk past the cereal and the candy and the cookies on your way to get the stuff that they know you're there to buy. So it increases impulse purchases. But they basically invented shopping carts because particularly women were the ones doing the food shopping at the time. They would just have their little like hand trolleys, or they would have to carry it by hand. And companies were like, well, we give them something to carry the groceries in and to the car, they'll probably buy more. And lo and behold, here we are. They were right.
Yeah, hey. I know I've gone in Dollar General a few times. and they have the little small mini one, the one that you can carry. I'll go in there with the intentions of only getting one or two things, but then it's like, all right, you know how like you'll start off with two things in your arm, and then now it's like, oh, I'm about to drop something. By the time you get to the cash register, it's like, man, let me go ahead and just grab this. And then yeah. I don't know. I can see that though. I get it. I try to be in and out them stores though. I do not like staying longer than I need to. One, because I hate standing in the lines. And two, because I know I get easily distracted. I'll start seeing stuff that I wasn't even thinking about. And it's like, oh, you know what? That'll be nice to have too right there. And then you're spending more than you want to. Nah, I'm good. But I'm with you on that. I'm not getting no chip in my arm, my hand, my no. And the fact that he's trying to propose, and I think what all of this come down to is the way that they're trying to promote it as if it's some sort of matter of fact, me and Coach was talking about it. So I can ask you. To me, it was like you're trying to promote this as some type of miracle or some type of blessing and breakthrough that's going to revolutionize the way that humans operate. And my argument was, nah, this is something more demonic. Like, what's your take on all of it overall, from just even laying your eyes on the conspiracy stuff, because that's really what this is to a lot of people. But
to me, the word I like to use is dystopian. There's a strong chance we're headed towards a world where the corporate elites are controlling our lives, or at least this is something that is a goal of theirs. Because if you have enough money and you can have control over a wide part of the population to enrich your life, you'll do whatever you can. And when you have more money than God, like Elon Musk, if everyone had, I think it was like if everyone had $1,000 or something like that, he would still have money left over, or some crazy thing like that. But like, people do not understand how much billions of dollars are. Like, we feel blessed if we get a $2,000 paycheck. And this man has more money than he could ever spend in his life. And the things that he can do with that just defy what anyone could possibly even understand. Like, he could buy companies, he could buy scientific corporations. So he has all, like, personally, between him and Mark Zuckerberg, I can't stand them. I hate them with every fiber of my being. They drive me crazy. And with Elon Musk in particular, I always think of the quote, like, the boys and their toys, where he just has this ego to him that is reflected in his beliefs. My mom loves the idea, like, she always talks about, like, oh yeah, one day we're gonna live on Mars and blah blah blah. And I hate that, because I'm like, okay, we have a planet that we live on, that we can breathe on, that we have houses on, and food and water, and the animals that work with our existence, and weather that works with us. Why do you want to move to a desert? A freezing desert? Like, it literally goes between below freezing and like 130 degrees. So you're flipping between Antarctica and Las Vegas, Death Valley, every single day. like whether you're in the sun or whether you're in the shade, that determines how hot or cold it is. And people are so determined to live there. And I don't understand. I'm like, why don't you spend that money making sure that this planet is hospitable? Like, we all know we're destroying this planet. Whether or not you believe in climate change, we're still destroying the forests. We're still polluting the oceans. We're still polluting the air. We're still like killing most of the animals that live on this planet. Why don't we put all that money towards actually helping the planet? And so it always drives me nuts when I hear people like, one, the whole like, we need a super intelligent robots to do everything for us. Two, we need to be able to go to other planets and colonize other planets. And then three, we need to make superhumans. Why? We don't need all that. What we need to do is find out how we can better the lives of all the people that do exist. We don't need robots. We need to educate people so they can do jobs. They can have jobs. We see what happens when people don't have jobs and careers and things to do. Like, we're already seeing the repercussions of AI in record layoffs, rivaling what we saw in the Great Depression, rivaling what we saw in 2008. And then with like creating a superhuman, I'm like, why do we need that? Why can't we just like harness what we already can do? Because humans are amazing creatures. Humans can do amazing feats. Imagine having a futuristic Olympics where it's now all normal humans are pushed out because it's all superhumans that are participating in these. Like, humans can no longer participate in sports because they've made superhumans that can do that now. Like, we are going to be pushing out the usefulness of normal humans, and people are not going to be able to afford to be superhumans. And because if it's going to be these billionaires that are owning these companies, they're not going to make it accessible. They're not going to make it accessible for reasons that would be beneficial, such as actually curing cancer or fixing people that have severe disabilities because of their DNA. We know that they're not going to do that. They're going to do it for celebrities first, the people that can afford to have supervision or be super stretchy or super strong or whatever. It's, to me, I think it's cool, but it's, in my opinion, a waste of time. Like, there are things that we can do with science that would be highly beneficial, but they waste their time on the frivolous stuff. And I think that's where I find it the most frustrating, because I'm like, there's so much good we can do with science, but they're more interested in creating a rare brand of like superhero, basically, instead of making sure that the millions of people that suffer and die from autoimmune disorders or cancers or other like really damaging illnesses and diseases, screw them. Like, we don't care about them. We just want to do work for like making cool things, comic book things. I'm like, more of a rant, but yeah, I just think it's really frustrating with all the money in the world that we have available. It's going towards like pipe dreams of like egotistical, crazy rich people. And it's not going, like, they're literally defunding children's cancer research, and just, they had a cancer vaccine in the docket to be tested, and Trump shot it down. This happened recently, last year, at the end of the year. Like, we have amazing advancements that we can use, but they're focused more on going to Mars and creating super genetically perfect humans. And I'm like, that's the other thing too, the genetically perfect human beings. I don't know if anyone's seen Gattaca or more evilly, what people we talked about yesterday had planned for the world, wanting to have a genetically superior race is the fastest way to get to ethnic cleansing, genetic cleansing. And none of those things sit well with me. So Yeah, I really wish they'd spend their money on things that actually helped people and not just creating a rich person's playground.
Well, they are helping people. They're helping their people. Technically, they don't care about the rest of us. You would think by now folks would have already figured that out. You know what I mean? If I'm not mistaken, people heard about TikTok. Y'all found out TikTok wasn't paying y'all no more. You heard TikTok change their guidelines and their rules up, and this, that, and the third. Y'all leaving, y'all jumping ship, going somewhere else. When you start talking about things like this, you don't have the same energy for it. That's something that I might have to put on my to watch list. Yeah.
They're also doing crazy censoring on TikTok now, where you can't look up anything negative about the president anymore on TikTok. And people have also started getting either shadow banned or like outright banned for making comments about the president, the vice president, and a couple other people. Because TikTok, I think, just got bought by a Republican group. So they're having some like crazy censorship right now, and that was already persisting on Facebook with Mark Zuckerberg.
uh, that's one to see real quick. Scrolling a little bit just to see if there's still some videos up talking about Trump. I don't know how long they're gonna be there, but I know I'm about to get a ball for there myself. I ain't really never made nothing off of it, but like you censoring everything, I can't get behind that. I can't get behind them injecting foreign things into our bodies. I can't get behind them trying to force you to be okay with it. I can't get behind them playing around with our life like we're the pieces on a chessboard and they're the cartoon characters that are sitting across from each other while the little humans are just being picked up and moved from here to here to do as they see fit because they got the money to do it. I have a huge issue with that. And they're just, like you said, they're grown adults. They're bored. They have nothing better to do than to create stuff to have fun with. I guess that's where you get this trafficking stuff from. You get this Epstein stuff from. You get them trying to go to all these different planets and stuff from because they need things to entertain themselves with. My idea of having a good time is not the same thing as theirs anymore. Golfing ain't fun no more. Now you gotta snatch up people from off the street and then sell them for X amount of dollars while disguising it as furniture. You want your Sophia? Okay, go to Wayfair. Go to wayfair.com and type in Sophia cabinet. It's going to be $13,000. Yeah, the whole time you think that's the name of the actual furniture. No, that's just translation for the actual person. Like, and matter of fact, now that since you said that, there's a report that somebody from Roblox created Epstein Island on the game. That's crazy as hell, man. Like, what's wrong with y'all?
Boredom and no morals.
None. Just put them in the wood chipper and call it a day on them. Hey, look, final thoughts. I just wanted to bring this video to y'all attention because this is what's going on in the world. This is what people are talking about. You can, I would encourage you to investigate. Just look into it a little bit more for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Check out. She said she used some words that I can't even pronounce. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again. But this is a scary time to not be aware of what's going on around you. I watched a documentary a while back about the psychopathology of success. They were saying most super wealthy are basically sociopaths. I believe it.
It's partially because you have to have a certain personality type to be that wealth seeking. You also have to embody those traits as you get more wealthy, because people that are hyper wealthy have to be more and more scrupulous about who they allow in their lives. And then lastly, as I've said before on the podcast, money literally changes your brain. When you have above a certain amount of money, I think it's like 500,000 or 750,000, something like that. Basically, as you approach $1 million, it literally changes your brain psychology, and how you think of money. And it basically like switches you out of like money is a tool to like money is my life. And when money, wealth accumulation becomes the most important aspect, you're going to act massively different than you did before. You're not going to care as much about pro-social behaviors because you are now hyper independent. You have all of these resources, and you basically like your brain is like, I don't need people because I have money. And so you're more willing to buy yourself out of situations to avoid having to deal with people. You're more likely to pull yourself up to avoid spending money on other people. You're less willing to share. You're less willing to like you might help people, but you'll do it in ways that benefit you and benefit your image. You won't help people just because you want to, because you care. There's as Chef said, there's a whole bunch of research on this, but money for sure changes your brain. So when you have that much wealth, you know they have personality issues. You know that they have a lot of like craziness in them, because you kind of have to be that way to get there. Same with CEOs. Like CEOs are different people because you have to have a certain cutthroat, anti-social type personality to get into some of these powerful positions. Same with politics as well. Like your situation in life is not truly self-selecting. You also have to line up with that role. Like somebody who's very passive and shy would never become a politician because naturally they're more shy. And so they're not going to get themselves out there and do the things that they need to become a politician. And so the higher up you go, the more that role is dependent on your personality and who you are, which is why everyone's always like, why are all CEOs the same? Why are all teachers the same? Why are all blah, blah, blah the same? Because you do have to have certain personality traits, like all this stuff, like anyone could be this. It's not really true, because you have to have yourself aligning with whatever that is to become that. So yeah, it's definitely a thing that people that are hyper rich have all sorts of issues.
It's not always what it's cracked up to be. You gotta be a special type of person to come into that type of success and still have that humility. Like real talk. Um, stay prayed up, stay covered, do your research, look into this stuff. I mean, it sounds sci-fi. It sounds like it's too much, but I mean, what haven't you seen in the last 20, 30 years that was at one point over the edge? Like when I was 16, 15 years old, a lot of this stuff now wasn't a conversation. It wasn't even something that was considered. I was still outside running around in a neighborhood and things like that. I wasn't thinking about New World Order and all this other stuff, you know what I'm saying? So it's just something to really consider, especially for your family and your friends and things of that nature. We didn't already went through this COVID thing once where they basically forced people to take shots. They tried to say, all right, you have the option of doing it, but now you really don't have no choice, because if you don't do it, then you're going to get left behind. Basically, you can't work, and we're going to make it hard for you to find employment if you don't take this shot.
Can you create a new one?
That makes sense. It's like a person's resonant frequency aligns with the role itself. I don't. I said this, and I'm gonna close out with this. They're never gonna put somebody in office that doesn't have that sociopathic attitude or personality. You know, I would be surprised if you ever see somebody wealthy that is humble, that has like that Gandhi like attitude, or they're very diplomatic. I can't see it, because that would require you to hold people accountable and to expose certain characteristics in your peers that dehumanize everybody else. Like if you're a nasty human being and you have somebody that is walking a straight path, they pure, they're not corrupted, and they're not on some real nefarious stuff. Those I can't see those two coexisting in the same space for very long. It's probably why they don't like Jasmine Crockett too much, because she calls out a lot of stuff. But it would be it would be nice to see more balance. Anyway, yeah, if y'all want to spin back on that clip, I played it 3 times, I believe, just in case. Uh, shout out to IG. I find so many different stories up there, man. There's endless things to talk about. Is there anything you want to add before we close out?
More so, we should definitely come back to discussions like this, talking about how the rich manipulate our world and stuff like that. Like this, even the psychology of stores and stuff like that. We brought up a lot of very interesting topics that we should definitely come back to and discuss, because there's a lot built into our world that most people have no idea about. And it affects us. It affects our spending habits. It affects how we act. It affects everything, even like stoplights and cameras. those affect our behavior, even though we don't usually like actively notice them and pay attention to them. It still affects our behavior. They've done studies on all of this stuff. So I would definitely be interested in talking a lot about these other topics, and going deeper into this type of stuff, because that is one thing. One of my dystopian things that I believe in is I believe that the rich and the powerful are gunning to control us in any way they can, whether it's biologically, physically, mentally, through society structurally. They want to. And I definitely believe the ideology that they're trying to make us all their slaves without us knowing that we are. So yeah, I think this is, whether or not it's true, that the hydrogel is actually like affecting how cells grow and stuff like that. It's definitely among the realm of different types of biological experiments that they're using on us that are true as a way to control us, to track us, to follow us, all that stuff. One final little add-in, the Ring cameras and one other company, also cameras, they were bought by Palantir recently. Palantir is the richest military weapons organization company that exists in America. They are going to be using, they bought that and their data because now they're going to be using people's in-home systems to track and look for immigrants that might be hiding out inside. So just another government conspiracy, or not really a conspiracy, but an actual thing, is that there was a conspiracy for a while where they're like, oh, they're watching us on our cameras. They are. They now have the ownership of that data. And so if you have like Ring cameras or other internal cameras in your home that are connected to the internet, they're going to be watching inside your home to make sure you're not harboring any immigrants. So if that's not dystopian, I don't know what is. But I don't know the science behind this main topic. But I know for a fact that the government is doing whatever they can to control us in as many ways as they can.
Tune in next week. We spinning back. We definitely about to get on their helmet a little bit more, because we are very distracted, and some of it is our fault, some of it is attributed to their agendas, and I don't think we address this enough. So I think it's time that we start putting a little more pressure on this, and I look forward to it. If you come across anything that you got on your heart, that goes from Sydney to anybody in the chat, if you got anything on your heart in regards to these matters right here specifically, send it our way. We'll set it up. But I'm definitely going to lock in something for next week. Shout outs to everybody that pulled up this morning. We've got another interesting one for y'all tonight. Tap in 7 o'clock. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Be blessed. And do me a solid before you go, if you don't mind.
What's the goddamn button?
Peace.
Have a good Thursday.